ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, is designed to protect individuals from electrical shock. It achieves this by constantly monitoring the current flowing through the hot and neutral wires of a circuit. If there is an imbalance, meaning some current is leaking to ground, the GFCI quickly trips, cutting off power to the circuit. This rapid response is crucial in preventing electrocution. The load side of a GFCI is the portion of the circuit downstream from the GFCI device itself. Only equipment and outlets requiring ground fault protection should be connected to the load side. These are typically outlets located in damp or wet locations such as bathrooms, kitchens, outdoors, and unfinished basements. Connecting devices that don't require this level of protection to the load side can sometimes cause nuisance tripping. A vanity light, under normal circumstances, doesn't require GFCI protection. Vanity lights are typically installed in dry locations, away from sources of water or moisture. Because of this, the risk of electrical shock is significantly lower compared to, say, an outlet near a sink. Therefore, a vanity light should be connected to the line side of the circuit, which is the side upstream of the GFCI device. The line side is not protected by the GFCI. To understand this better, let's consider a typical bathroom wiring scenario. The bathroom circuit might start at the electrical panel, run into a GFCI outlet installed near the sink. This GFCI outlet provides protection for anything plugged into it, such as a hairdryer or electric shaver. The vanity light, wired upstream of the GFCI outlet on the line side, receives power directly from the circuit breaker in the panel without passing through the GFCI's protective mechanism. It's important to note that local electrical codes may have specific requirements regarding GFCI protection in bathrooms. Always consult the latest edition of the National Electrical Code, also known as NEC, and local amendments adopted by the authority having jurisdiction, also known as AHJ, which is usually the city or county, to ensure compliance. Let's talk more about how a GFCI works. It operates on the principle of current balance. In a properly functioning circuit, the current flowing through the hot wire should equal the current returning through the neutral wire. The GFCI continuously monitors this balance. If a difference of as little as 5 mA is detected, the GFCI trips, interrupting the circuit in a fraction of a second. This is fast enough to prevent serious injury or death from electrical shock. The sensitivity of a GFCI is carefully calibrated to provide protection without causing unnecessary tripping. Normal electrical appliances can sometimes create very small current imbalances that would not pose a safety hazard. The 5 mA threshold is a compromise between safety and functionality. It's also worth noting that GFCIs do not protect against overloads or short circuits. These types of faults are handled by circuit breakers or fuses. A GFCI is specifically designed to detect ground faults, which are a different type of electrical problem. A ground fault occurs when current leaks from a hot wire to ground, often through a person who is touching a live wire. Understanding the difference between these types of electrical faults is crucial for ensuring proper electrical safety in your home. So, to reiterate, connecting a vanity light to the load side of a GFCI is generally not necessary and can sometimes lead to problems. The light should be connected to the line side, allowing the GFCI to protect outlets and other devices that are more likely to be used in damp or wet locations. Always consult a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about electrical wiring. Working with electricity can be dangerous, and it's important to take all necessary precautions. Make sure to turn off the power at the circuit breaker before working on any electrical circuits. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, also known as PPE. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a licensed electrician to do the job. Your safety is the most important thing. Now let's delve into some additional details about GFCI installation and troubleshooting. When installing a GFCI outlet, it's crucial to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. The instructions will provide specific guidance on how to connect the wires to the correct terminals. Typically, the line wires, which come from the circuit breaker, are connected to the terminals marked line. The load wires, which go to other outlets or devices downstream, are connected to the terminals marked load. It's important to connect the wires correctly, or the GFCI will not function properly. After installing a GFCI, it's a good idea to test it to make sure it's working correctly. Most GFCIs have a test button that simulates a ground fault. When you press the test button, the GFCI should trip, cutting off power to the circuit. If the GFCI doesn't trip, there may be a problem with the installation or the GFCI device itself. If you suspect a problem, consult a qualified electrician. GFCIs can sometimes trip for no apparent reason. This is often referred to as nuisance tripping. Nuisance tripping can be caused by a variety of factors, including faulty appliances, loose wiring, or moisture in the circuit. If you experience frequent nuisance tripping, try unplugging appliances one at a time to see if you can identify the culprit. If you can't find the cause of the tripping, consult a qualified electrician. GFCIs have a limited lifespan. Over time, they can become less sensitive and may not trip as reliably. It's generally recommended to replace GFCIs every 10 to 15 years or sooner if they start to malfunction. Replacing a GFCI is a relatively simple task that can be done by a homeowner with basic electrical skills. However, if you're not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a licensed electrician. In addition to outlets, GFCIs are also available in circuit breaker form. GFCI circuit breakers provide protection for an entire circuit rather than just a single outlet. These are often used for circuits that serve multiple outlets in bathrooms or kitchens. GFCI circuit breakers are more expensive than GFCI outlets, but they can provide a higher level of protection. When choosing a GFCI device, it's important to select one that is rated for the appropriate voltage and amperage. Most residential GFCIs are rated for 120 volts and 15 or 20 amps. It's also important to choose a GFCI that is listed by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, also known as UL. UL listing indicates that the GFCI has been tested and meets certain safety standards. Now let's discuss the National Electrical Code requirements related to GFCI protection. The NEC specifies which locations require GFCI protection. These requirements are based on the potential for electrical shock in those locations. As mentioned earlier, bathrooms, kitchens, outdoors, and unfinished basements are common areas that require GFCI protection. The NEC also requires GFCI protection for certain appliances, such as dishwashers and washing machines. The specific requirements for GFCI protection can vary depending on the year of the NEC and local amendments. It's important to consult the latest edition of the NEC and local amendments to ensure compliance. Here are some specific examples of NEC requirements for GFCI protection. In dwelling units, all 125 volt, 15 amp and 20 amp receptacles installed in bathrooms, garages, and outdoors must be GFCI protected. In kitchens, all 125 volt, 15 amp and 20 amp receptacles serving countertop surfaces must be GFCI protected. In unfinished basements, all 125 volt, 15 amp and 20 amp receptacles must be GFCI protected. These are just a few examples of the NEC requirements for GFCI protection. The NEC also includes requirements for GFCI protection in other locations such as swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs. It's important to be aware of these requirements and to ensure that your electrical system complies with the NEC. In addition to GFCIs, there are other types of electrical safety devices that can help protect against electrical shock. One example is an arc fault circuit interrupter, also known as a SI. SIs protect against electrical fires caused by arcing faults. Arcing faults can occur when wires become loose or damaged, creating a spark that can ignite nearby materials. SIs are typically installed in bedrooms and other areas where people sleep. Another type of electrical safety device is a surge protector. Surge protectors protect against voltage spikes, which can damage electronic equipment. Voltage spikes can be caused by lightning strikes, power surges from the utility company, or even by turning on and off large appliances. Surge protectors are available in a variety of forms, including power strips and whole house surge protectors. Choosing the right electrical safety devices for your home is an important part of ensuring electrical safety. Consult a qualified electrician to determine which devices are appropriate for your needs. Remember, electrical safety is not something to take lightly. By understanding the principles of GFCI protection and following the NEC requirements, you can help protect yourself and your family from electrical shock. If you have any questions or concerns about electrical wiring, always consult a qualified electrician. They have the knowledge and experience to ensure that your electrical system is safe and up to code.